Bakersfield, California. A sun-drenched tapestry of fields and farms. The air, thick with the scent of orange blossoms, whispered promises of peace and prosperity. This was the backdrop against which the Harpers lived their lives. A picture of quintessential Americana. John Harper, the patriarch, a pillar of the community. Mary, his wife, exuded warmth and grace. Together, they built a life centered around their two beautiful children, 10-year-old Emily and 8-year-old Ethan. The Harper family home, nestled on a quiet, tree-lined street. Their laughter, often spilling out from the open windows, was a familiar sound in the neighborhood. But beneath the surface of this idyllic life, a darkness lurked. John Harper, a successful businessman, owned a thriving car dealership. His name, synonymous with honesty and integrity. Mary, a former teacher, dedicated her life to her children. Emily, a bright, vivacious child, excelled at school and ballet. Ethan, full of energy and mischief, loved soccer and building Lego towers that scraped the sky. The Harpers were regulars at the local farmers market, John tossing a football with Ethan, while Mary and Emily selected fresh produce. They were often seen at the town's annual picnic, their laughter mingling with the strumming of guitars and the aroma of barbecue. Their social media feeds, a curated collection of happy smiles and joyous occasions, pictures of vacations by the lake, birthday parties with colorful balloons, and Christmas mornings overflowing with gifts. But appearances, as they often do, were deceiving. Behind closed doors, the Harper home harbored a different reality. John, battling a hidden alcohol addiction, grew increasingly volatile. Mary, bearing the brunt of his anger, wore long sleeves to conceal the bruises on her arms. Emily, once carefree, retreated into herself. Ethan, too young to comprehend the turmoil, acted out at school, his childish exuberance replaced with angry outbursts. The perfect facade began to crack, revealing the dysfunction that lay beneath. Neighbors recalled hushed arguments, doors slamming shut, and the sound of breaking glass late at night. They spoke of Mary's withdrawn demeanor, her once bright eyes now clouded with sadness. John, once a pillar of the community, was seen less and less, his absence explained away as work commitments. People began to question the Harpers' seemingly perfect life. Margaret, the owner of the local bakery and Mary's close confidant, noticed the changes in her friend. Mary, usually vibrant and chatty, now seemed withdrawn and distant. Her eyes, once sparkling with life, were now dull with a hidden pain. Margaret, her heart heavy with concern, tried to reach out, but Mary, bound by fear and shame, kept her silence. At school, Emily's teacher, Mrs. Thompson, observed the drastic change in the once bright student. Her grades plummeted, she stopped participating in class, and her infectious laughter was replaced with a stony silence. Worried, Mrs. Thompson contacted the school counselor, her intuition screaming that something was terribly wrong. The whispers grew louder, spreading like wildfire through the community. People began to connect the dots, noticing John's absence, Mary's withdrawn demeanor, and the children's unhappiness. The facade of the perfect family was crumbling. The morning of August 12th dawned like any other in Bakersfield. The sun, a golden orb in the azure sky, cast long shadows across the manicured lawns of Maple Street. But the tranquility of this seemingly ordinary day was about to be shattered. It was the day the truth about the Harpers would come to light, a truth far more horrifying than anyone could have imagined. The mailman, making his usual rounds, noticed something unusual. The Harpers' mailbox, usually empty by this time, was overflowing with letters and flyers. He found it odd, especially since John was usually meticulous about collecting their mail. A knot of unease tightened in his stomach. He knocked on the front door, a sense of dread creeping up his spine. Silence. He immediately called the police, his voice trembling as he reported the unsettling stillness at the Harper residence. Detective Ben Romero, A seasoned investigator known for his sharp instincts and unwavering dedication received the call. Something in the dispatcher's voice, a tremor of urgency, told him this was no ordinary welfare check. He rushed to his car, the siren wailing, its urgency mirroring the frantic beating of his own heart. Arriving at the Harper residence, he was greeted by an eerie silence. The pristine lawn, the neatly trimmed hedges, the swing set swaying gently in the breeze. Everything seemed unnervingly normal, yet a palpable sense of dread hung heavy in the air. As he stepped across the threshold, his worst fears were confirmed. The air inside was thick with the metallic scent of blood. The once immaculate living room was now a scene of unimaginable horror. The investigation was underway, a race against time to piece together the fragments of a shattered family portrait. The trial of Robert Turner, a disgruntled former employee of John Harper's car dealership, was a media spectacle. Cameras flashed, microphones were thrust forward, and reporters scribbled furiously as the prosecution presented its case. Turner, they alleged, driven by revenge after being fired for embezzlement, had brutally murdered the entire Harper family. The courtroom, packed with curious onlookers and grieving townsfolk, became a stage for a heart-wrenching drama. Evidence was presented, witnesses testified, and emotions ran high. The prosecution painted a picture of a cold-blooded killer, motivated by greed and resentment. The defense, meanwhile, argued that Turner was a scapegoat, framed for a crime he didn't commit. Days turned into weeks as the trial progressed. Finally, after weeks of agonizing deliberation, the verdict was reached: guilty. The tragedy left an indelible mark on Bakersfield. The once familiar streets now seemed different, the laughter of children a poignant reminder of what had been lost. The community, once a tapestry of shared dreams and aspirations, was now bound together by a shared grief, a collective wound that refused to heal. Margaret, her bakery now a place of solace for grieving townsfolk, would often stare at the empty stool where Mary used to sit, her heart aching with a grief that knew no bounds. Mrs. Thompson, Emily's teacher, kept a photo of the bright-eyed girl on her desk, a constant reminder of the innocence that had been stolen. Life went on, as it always does, but it was a life irrevocably altered. The Harper house, once a symbol of warmth and laughter, stood empty, a silent sentinel to a tragedy that had shaken the community to its core. In the wake of the tragedy, the community of Bakersfield rallied together. Neighbors helped neighbors, offering words of comfort, sharing meals, and providing a shoulder to cry on. The local church organized grief counseling sessions, providing a safe space for people to express their pain and seek solace in shared sorrow. A memorial fund was set up in the Harper family's name, the donations pouring in a testament to the impact they had had on the community. Bakersfield, once a town fractured by suspicion and grief, began to heal. The shared experience of loss, though devastating, had forged a new sense of unity. Years have passed since the tragedy, but the memory of the Harper family continues to live on in Bakersfield. Their story, a stark reminder of the fragility of life and the devastating consequences of unchecked rage, became a catalyst for change. The town implemented new domestic violence awareness programs, providing resources and support to those trapped in abusive relationships. Every year on the anniversary of their deaths, the community gathers in the town square to remember John, Mary, Emily, and Ethan. Candles are lit, poems are read, and songs are sung, their melodies carried on the gentle breeze, a poignant tribute to a family lost too soon. The Harpers may be gone, but they are not forgotten. Their legacy lives on in the hearts of those who love them, in the strengthened bonds of a community forever changed. Their story serves as a reminder to cherish our loved ones, to reach out to those in need, and to never take a single moment for granted.